Hello everyone, my name is Matthew Silpot and I'm here again to talk about music education. Welcome to this space. If you're new here, welcome. Subscribe, share if this content is of value to you, and drop some comments. Let me know your thoughts. So today we're going to talk about equity in music education. There has been a constant battle in terms of this special topic within the space, but we're going to break down, and this is really a hint from an article I read by Tina Beveridge, and it's Equity in Music Education, Avoiding Cultural Appropriation in the Music Classroom. Now, this is not basically zoning in on one particular culture or one place, but it can be applicable in a lot of situations. And music by itself is already a debatable topic. We talk about music education, resources and funding and implementation within schools. You know, the battle is that anything to be cut when you have budgets, the arts will be first to go. But on the flip side, the arts are the areas that really uplift the school, uplift the programs. So why you want to let them go first? You know, I don't get it. But let's jump in and talk about this a little bit. Equity within the music space. If this is applicable to your situation, you can talk about it with your students or talk about it with your peers or colleagues, you know, by all means. Now, equity came about from two big events that happened in Minneapolis, and this was the sad incidents, deaths of these two figures, George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. And this had sparked a whole nationwide protest in terms of, you know, what has been happening in terms of racial constructs, what has been going on within the education space, how persons of color were being treated, and all of that. And so that came a big thing within the article itself. But we're going to talk about music education and learning, and one of the biggest things for this article was a lot of times we look at equity or, you know, some person's backgrounds as trying to diminish what they are coming with and trying to force a culture on them. But from the article, we speak of music education or education in general as an ecosystem. And what that is, or what that means, is that we do really have the sea, the ocean, or if you will, but within the ocean itself, there are several life forms or several culture of species that they have their own ways, their own practices, but they still contribute to this whole system with their own things. The same thing for education is that everybody comes from a different background and we come with something different to the table. So we should be able to operate within the space by contributing our backgrounds while still learning, because you do have to learn. Learn how cultures are within a space, how you do things differently, if there are some things that we do similarly, you know, and we can operate and function within the same space by one big word. And within constructivism, this is one of the 4 C's that I mentioned, which is collaboration. I mean, communication and creativity and critical thinking are important, but collaboration is one big word that should be understood clearly if you're in education, because we are here sharing a space. We are here to share culture. We're here to share information, especially if you don't know it. when you're trying to understand, do have to have collaboration. So being a part of an ecosystem is that you are contributing all the skills and talents that you do have, and you are contributing to the development of that system. Same thing with the real world or within the education system. You're contributing to your own development while learning from others. So that was a part of it. The next thing, one big food for thought from this was cultural appropriation. And when we talk about cultural appropriation, I want to find out what is this big word and these two sets of big words. We talk about it all the time. What does it mean to be experiencing cultural appropriation? And what cultural appropriation is really using or adopting artifacts from another culture without consent and in a way that causes harm. Plain and simple, you thief something and no business. So, you go in a culture, you adopt their principles, you adopt your culture, and it's not in a way to elevate that particular culture, but it will really make a damaging impact rather than an uplifting one. And that is really a cultural appropriation. Another thing that was mentioned within the article was cultural exchange. Now, this is a different side of it. Cultural exchange is really when two or more cultures are of equal power, they share artifacts, music, symbols, etc. There's no harm there. If we're doing a cultural exchange, it means that I'm sharing my customs with you, you are sharing your customs with me, I understand it and know to use it, and while I'm using it, I'm also giving credit to your culture. That is what an exchange is. And we're of equal value, we understand each other that way. There is transculturation, which is really a mixture of culture to create something new. I don't think there's harm in that either. And for example, I put in there reggaeton, because reggaeton is one of those popular genres within the Latin community, and it really is a mix of reggae, which is from Jamaica, and Latin music, which is really from there. So they created this form called reggaeton, and they use it in the spaces. So from influences of cultures, you're able to create something new, and that is shared by all. So that is what that is about, transculturation. Now, cultural exploitation is where a dominant group adopts practices or customs without acknowledgement or compensation of a culture. So, I may have reggae as my staple, and you come in and you adopt this, and you decide to own it without acknowledging that you got it from where I am from, which is Jamaica. That is what exploitation is. And exploitation of any kind is never a good thing. So while you use something from some cultures, it is prudent for you to acknowledge if there is something involved that you would have to pay to access this, and if there's an agreement or there's an MOU, then you can do that and create that and use it if you're going to use it for your own personal use or within your educational space. So we have to be mindful of these things. And there's this other thing, cultural dominance. Cultural dominance really happens when we have subordinate groups conforming to cultural practices or norms imposed on them, which is harm again. And that means, in plain terms, is that I'm going to impose what I know on you, diminishing what you have, or what you have may be irrelevant based on my stance. So being of high power, and I esteem that you will be forced to learn my practices. And that's what cultural dominance is. And the history books have unveiled a lot of information on that, and especially as it relates to music, we know what cultural dominance is. So, for you to highlight and note these things. Now, looking from a different seat, in order for educators to avoid these traps or this misuse of cultural appropriation, here are some questions that you can consider for thought. What culture are we teaching within a classroom space, and why are we teaching it? Is it relevant? And if it's not, how can we make it relevant for a space? What cultural symbols are we teaching? What are the meanings behind these symbols? And I know that sometimes we go to a culture and we see what is happening within the space and we say, this looks good. I will use it within my culture and space. But how are you using it? How are you using it for your context? Would it be relevant for your culture? Would it be, appropriate? What would be the meanings? What would be the implications of teaching these things? So these are some questions for you to consider whenever you're trying to use elements from another culture within your education system, especially music. Diversity is a big thing because the way we learn is quite different from each other. So as student populations are more diverse, there's an understanding that we should move away from a dominance of Western art music, according to the article that I had read. Now, Western art music has its place. There are a lot of good things from that. But at the same time, we're not purporting a neglect on the cultures of the country that it's being used in. So especially if there are musical forms and practices that are seen as, developmental or foundational or traditional, or whatever you want to call it, the practices of the culture should be still relevant, not of dominance from the other form. So you can use it to bring out more of what you have, because there are elements that are strong foundational things in terms of learning music, but it shouldn't be where it's going to eradicate all that you have musically and say this is the ultimate form of music. So, thoughts to consider. So, question for you to consider again within your things. How do you see cultural appropriation in your music educational context? And then the second question, what can your curriculum design do to accommodate diverse cultures in your educational landscape? So that's all I have for you. There are some questions that you can consider and talk and think about, these things when you're teaching music within your space. How can you make your situation or make your activities and implementation of curriculum more effective and more impactful on the generation that you have in front of you so that they can be the best versions of themselves? All right, so see you next time. I hope this provoked your thoughts. Share in the comments, tell me what you think about this, and you can check out the article. I'll share it in the link as well, and you can read for yourself. And if this can help you within your space, hey, it's a win. Walk good. Have a good day. See you next time.